So good morning, all. Hi, my name is James Coelho. I represent iPlanet Education. We're here today to talk about safe internet policies in schools. And before that, I'd like to first welcome each one of you to this session for taking time out to join us. I know it's not easy. I think some of you have your school holidays possibly now, and really appreciate your taking time to come in and join us. Maybe just for understanding, if you could just join us quickly or put it on the chat to just say your name and your school so that the others can also know that you're on this group you joined in today. Or you can unmute and say hello. Either way is quite all right. So I'll hold on for just a few minutes for you all to give us a hi. I think Bangalore mornings is still very quiet. All right, let's still go at them in any case. So what's important for us today as we start is that we understand that for all schools, there are challenges that the school leadership and the IT face, especially when you're learning to keep learning focused and away from distractions. The other thing that many school leaders tell us is how do we keep our policies simple? How do we keep them effective and updated? And most importantly, and that's what we like to touch upon today in our session, is how do we keep students protected? And I think there's no better panel than we have today to answer these questions. And of course, I know that there are so many more questions that you would have in your mind. And we'll try and at least address most of the key ones today. And of course, we can do more if time permits. But I'd like to now introduce who we have today to talk to you. I have Dr. Suraj Mohandas. He's the Vice President of Global Strategy and the Education Business for Jamf. And I'll tell you more about Jamf as we go ahead. He leads the go-to-market strategy, product positioning, and competitive intelligence across K12 and higher education markets globally. He brings deep expertise in education, technology, systems design, and organizational design to help schools and universities navigate their digital strategies. So here's a wealth of information here. They've done a lot of work with some of the best schools and colleges, and I think it's a great way for us to then try and understand what does work best in these institutions. Then I also have my dear friend Francesco here. He comes to India once in a while to say hello to us. He's the education manager. He manages a massive, expansive territory, and thankfully does come to India once in a while. I said outside of the Americas, he probably handles the rest of the world. So I can't mention each and every country, but thank you, Francesco, for joining us as well. And then I have Jasdeep Singh, who's our channel relationship manager. And he's always there for us for all the support that we need for our schools and colleges. So thank you, Jasdeep, for joining in as well. So thank you to each one of you who joined us now. I'll now hand off to them so that they can then share their thoughts and learnings with you. For those of you who've joined, if you'd like to ask a question anytime, exactly that's what we'd like you to do. If you'd like to otherwise post it on the chat, feel free, and then we'll try and consolidate and then come back to your question whenever we have the time. We, of course, have time at the end, but we don't necessarily want to leave it at the end. We will try and answer your questions as we go through the flow itself, right? So thank you so much, and over to you, Suraj and Francesco.
All right, so thank you very much, James, for this beautiful introduction. It's a pleasure, first of all, for us to be here to share this moment together and to talk to our schools, to the audience of today. First of all, what does it mean security in education? What does it mean for us at Jamf? How we tackle the topic? How we make sure that the school can live relaxed with their devices wherever they are. So that's the topic of today. So we will share a few questions just to have your response, interactions. We will show you a couple of slides. So it's going to be a very interactive session. Once again, we want questions. Like Jem said, please let us know. We will ask you some. So we really invite you to be interactive and to respond. So we have already a pool. So before I give the microphone to Suraj, well, I kindly ask you to prepare your phone, because I will share a pool with a QR code where you can open it and start interacting with us. So having said that, Suraj.
Yeah, thanks, Francesco. Thanks, James. Lovely introduction, and it's great to be here in Bangalore. We are excited to talk to all of you about Jamf Safe Internet. This has been a product that has got a lot of deep enterprise capabilities, but we have really made sure the design of the product is very education specific, especially school specific. And our primary focus was to make sure we actually create a very safe learning environment for students that keeps them safe and gets them access to only what they need when they need it. One of the things that we always like to highlight as far as Apple technology is we take privacy very seriously. And when it comes to these devices and the technology that sits on it, including Jamf Safe Internet, we have focused to make sure the privacy level that you want is something that you can manage based on your school needs. This product is actually available, and we work with over 40,000 schools and higher education universities globally. And what we have heard consistently from the customers is not only is it powerful, but it is very easy to turn on and deploy to the devices, so you can be worry-free and the students can be safe. So we're very excited to be here. We're excited to learn from what are some of the challenges you may be experiencing, and keep it very interactive so that we can address some of those questions, at least the ones we're able to. If not, we can come back and answer those as a follow-up as well. So excited to talk to all of you, and it's great to be here.
Perfect. All right. So I think, Suraj, you started mentioning something about the 40,000 customer schools we work with, we support every day with our technology. And I would like just to spend few seconds around why Jamf is doing this, right? So let's do a little bit back in a few years back in COVID period. So when it was 2020, we started, well, unfortunately with the COVID era, thank God it's far away from us. We were basically, we can say that we were an MDM company, right? We were doing MDM management of Apple devices, most of all. But then with time, and we realized that the needs of the school changed. The need of managing a device was just not enough anymore, right? So we were talking about more. So if we think that the needs of the school IT has developed in time, the teacher needs has developed, the students as well, right? So they needed something different than just an iPad or a Mac or any device to do lesson, as well the parents, right? The parents, they started with the need, they felt the need to be able to support, to control and supervise the device also when they're at home. The security part is something that we got into a few years after the COVID, let's say the COVID experience. I think it was around 2022, 2023.
Yes.
We started understanding that the customer were asking for something else. So what is that we're going to talk today is a solution that has been part of our new offering, our new platform offering, which is called Jamf K12, where we do management that we always been doing, and the security part. So the security part is a vertical cross-platform. So James, this is also important to clarify to our audience today. It's not only about Apple devices, but it's cross-platform devices. So it can work, actually should work very well on Chromebooks and Windows as well as Apple devices. And it's the core.
Francesco, because for all of us in India so far, we've been so familiar with Jamf being tied so strongly with Apple and iPad and Mac. And I think it's good to hear. And I think there'll be a lot of questions on how do we bring Jamf for the other devices. So I think I'll wait for the audience to ask questions as we go along. but that's something we like to address. Thank you. Yeah, sure.
Yes. So
Yeah, I think the main reason we have looked at Safe Internet as being cross-platform is we find globally that most education organizations are cross-platform. Certain grades may have iPads, other grades may have Windows devices. So when you're creating a safe learning environment, it makes sense to make sure that learning environment is uniformly created so that any student, regardless of the grade or what device they're on, have a uniform, safe experience. So that's one of the main motivations behind making sure this works on any device of choice.
I think this is very relevant information for the audience we are talking to today. So as promised, let's start, James, with some interactive questions. Like we want to understand, it's a question that sometimes we ask ourselves as well, right? To understand how we can support school, we ask these questions to ourselves. So what I kindly ask to our audience, to whoever is listening, to please scan this QR code. So I'll give you just 20 seconds to scan your QR code, put your name. We'll do it ourselves just for the sake of participating. So we'll do also myself. I will scan and then I will add my own name, and then in few seconds we can start. So we selected some questions that will help us to understand what are your challenges every day and how you tackle the security and privacy topic. All right, so numbers.
They can join anytime.
Yeah, they can join anytime. So let's start with the first question. If you will have 60 seconds to answer. So how do you currently protect devices and student data in your school? This is, I think, the starting question,
Yes.
Suraj. So let's really start from the beginning. How do you currently protect your devices and student data?
And you can think of it across multiple dimensions. We always think of it as what is happening on the device itself, the endpoint, what is happening on the network, what is happening outside the network, even if you're using a firewall. All of those are options to keep devices and student data safe. So eager to hear what the responses are going to be.
Yes, absolutely. So let's give a few more seconds. And collect a little bit the experience of our audience. We have already few answers, so 5, 6 answers. So that's gonna be very important to see. And I think the first time, Suraj, when we talk to customers, this is something that we ask as a first, right? So how are you doing it today? Okay, let's go through. By monitor with network monitoring system, by applying policy and rules. One answer, and it's very interesting.
Yeah, it's a firewall.
Firewall, so exactly, firewall, none.
Yeah.
None. I try, but I don't have visibility. This is also some manual. This is also something interesting.
And we have someone that has got the right answer. You have MDM, Safe Internet, Managed Apple ID.
Perfect. So
maybe they can do the
scope.
presentation at this point. Yeah.
All right. All right. So I think already, James, Suraj, already these answers are giving us a very
lens into it.
A lens and a very diverse situation, right? So the one saying none. So the next question, obviously, I would love to interact with you if it's possible, but otherwise, I would love to understand then to ask you is how do you then make sure that you know what's happening on your ecosystem, right? Because that's something that nowadays, I think we were talking this morning, right? In India and other countries, there is a need of, we need to know what's happening on our devices.
Correct.
So
yeah.
And
so yeah, if I think there's, if you want to come on camera or come off of mute and speak to it, that would be great. The other thing that I would mention is I see a couple of responses that are talking about firewall. The question would be, what happens when the devices leave the school premises and go home? If they do, then you are leaving those devices again and students exposed to an open network and an uncontrolled environment. So the question is going to be, how are you thinking of the non-firewall related network access, especially if the devices are going home? And that's one of the unique things that we can talk about in Safe Internet is it really doesn't matter how you're accessing the network or where you're accessing it from. It protects the student and the organization regardless of where the device is. And I think it can work alongside the firewall, but it is definitely something that is above and beyond what the firewall can bring.
If we start thinking, and we will show you later how it looks actually on the solution itself, we are shifting from the concept of protecting the school devices while they're at school, right? Nowadays, now I would be really curious to know the situation of
maybe it's
audience.
a chat window.
Maybe there is a chat. James, if there is a chat and questions, please interrupt us, because I'm not sure if I can see it. But so we are shifting.
Yeah, no, sorry to interrupt. No, the chats I haven't seen yet, but if there are that come, then I will prompt and we can then take these questions.
Right. Yeah. All questions are good questions, so feel free to chime in. We can definitely help you answer any questions you have. And if you're thinking of a question, chances are someone else is thinking about the same question as well.
Yes. So what we're trying to explain at Jamf is that today is not anymore related to the school location, but it's related to the device and the students learning everywhere. Right? That's the idea. The students are learning everywhere. It's 2026. We are not tied exclusively to the school location. So that's why we're safe internet's on device, right? It doesn't matter which device. It can be iPad, can be Mac, can be any other platform, wherever you are, at the gym, at the cafe, at the airport, and you are trying to access your resources, then you are always protected.
Yeah. And the last thing I would say before we move to the next one is, especially if the devices are going home with the student, this is a great way to reassure parents that when the devices are at home, they would still not be able to access any of the unsafe or inappropriate content on those devices.
It's actually helping also parents.
It's definitely helping parents.
They know that those contents are not accessible. I would be very curious to talk to the manual, the one responded manual, because I don't want to think how many hours and how much energy you're spending on this to do it manually, I guess, one by one, device by device. If they're 15, 20, might be an option, but if we're already
talking in the hundreds, then we would
then
love to help you.
Exactly. All right, James, are we good? I think we're ready to go into the next questions. If there is no...
I think there was one comment by Shriram who said, but I think it's more a comment really here. He says we can add a profile in Jamf with the restriction or policies and add it to devices, which is good. I thought the ones like you said, anybody who was maybe has a question on how to protect devices or not having done it or doing it manually, and you'd like to have raise a question here, feel free to do that. If not, we'll then move on to the next question. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right, so next questions would be 3 players are ready. Okay, so I guess we need to do this. 4 are ready. Okay, yes. So you just need to activate again your screen, and then we go into the next question, which will be how do we prevent students from bypassing the filters? This is also a very good one. So basically what we're asking here is, okay, so no matter what you have or you don't have a solution in place, firewall, not firewall, how can you make sure that your students are not bypassing this solution? So do you have the technology? Do you have the knowledge to know how to stop this bypassing? And because we know, Suraj, students today are extremely smart.
They're very talented.
They're very
resourceful. One of the things that we talk about a lot is the students' ability to create VPNs and GitHub pages and Reddit. Like it's all of these locations. They're very good at coming up with innovative ways to bypass the filters, and then for social equity and credit, sharing it with their friends so they can also get around the filters. So I think very curious to see how we can and how you prevent some of the bypassing that happens.
Perfect. So let's see. Let's look at the answers. Regularly monitor the student's device over Jamf. All right, this is a good answer. I don't have tools for that. So missing tool, missing solution to do that. Restrict Jamf policies. All right. So that's for us to answer with Jamf, not because obviously we are here today, but that's a way for sure you can enforce the policies so the students or the device no matter who's behind the device, cannot bypass. And for the one saying, I don't have tools for that, then that's exactly a good reason for you for you to be here.
Yeah.
So
one of the key things I would say is using Jamf policies is a great way to start, like restricting VPNs. The other thing that is very unique to the Apple technology ecosystem is the on-device content filtering capabilities. Device content filtering that sits on the device is something that is resistant to any kind of VPNs, resistant to any kind of bypass. So if you're looking for a foolproof way to make sure students are accessing only resources that are safe and are approved, turning on, and we'll show you where that exists in the product, turning it on and deploying it as an on-device content filtering policy will actually make sure no VPNs can actually bypass the content filter on the system.
Yeah, after all, it's a very powerful, it seems, we will look at the platform. It seems very simple, a little bit like some tool, right? But it's very powerful, as you said, right?
Yeah.
There is an enterprise engine under the product. So James, any questions, comments? We're happy to hear that.
Yeah, there's one very interesting question.
Right.
And also I think before I get to the question, when you're sharing the QR code on the Menti, I think just hold a few more seconds. So I think we can have more people participate for the question. Yeah. That's one.
Yeah.
I think the person who's posted this very interesting comment. So he has or she has said that students are able to use proxy websites to bypass the Jamf Safe Internet filtering. Many of these proxy sites act like a browser within a browser, which allows them to evade category-based and URL-based filtering. Blocking individual proxies URLs is not a sustainable solution, as new proxy sites appear frequently and often change domains. Would we be able to address this?
Yeah, so we this is the part of it that is always a little bit of a cat and mouse game. So we actually in the product use some new domain related categorization mechanism. So you are able to see when new domains are getting created, new proxy websites are being created, and those are automatically flagged as riskier environments. So in addition to the domain and the categorization based filtering, we do have our in-house AI tool that is actually scouring through domains that are being visited, and then it feeds that back and blocks them. But you're right, I don't think anything is completely foolproof, but we do have some additional layers beyond categorization and URL-based blocking that does help prevent that. If there are specific examples, we'd love to kind of look at it and see how we can provide some targeted feedback for whoever raised that question.
I think we can capture it from the school later and then share that with you also. So you can do another diagnosis on that. Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great follow-up. And yes, happy to, oh, there you go. Turtle.net. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Quizlet, we definitely see a lot. To me, I think we are always kind of relying on third-party databases that have sites and other pieces of domains that they get flagged as well. So we're always updating our categorization and list of websites. So we'll definitely be able to get in touch with you and talk about it a little more.
That they're also able to flag it, right? So
they're absolutely able to flag it.
So the moment we are not still, we're not yet aware of this, then there is always in product an option to flag it to the Jamf security team, which is a proper team, right? It's not just a machine behind, but there is a proper team sitting and helping with this.
And the last thing I would say is by turning on device content filtering, it is using a lot of the Apple native ways of flagging what is inappropriate or unsafe content when it comes to blocking. So that's one of the reasons why we highly recommend using on-device content filtering engine, because it uses the native AI kind of capabilities on the Apple devices as well.
All right. So I think, James, we can look at the third question. So let's open this topic already. And then perhaps after this, we can stop the interactive part, and we go on to just to respond, since we already have a couple of
the product
a bit. So does the filtering follow the student home? Here we are. This is the question, right? because as we introduced that before, nowadays is not more the time where the student are learning in school and their devices are there in school only, but potentially everywhere, right? Potentially even in another country, in another continent. So it's important we understand that it's not anymore location based, right? Learning is happening everywhere, anytime, any day of the week. So we need to make sure that the question is, does your filter follow the student at home?
Yeah, this is also the interesting question around, like, what do you hear from your parent community about devices that do go home? What concerns do you hear from them around access that they have on the device, etc.?
Yeah. All right, some answers here. So using Jamf is possible. I like this answer, obviously. We know that. So the real question is it working as you expect? Do you feel that you can learn more on how to use Jamf solutions? So for the first answer is for sure, I would like to interact more on that. Yes, JSI, which is Jamf Safe Internet, works irrespective of the network. Correct. So that's the point, right? So firewall, allow me, I'm not an expert on this, but it's a little bit of a maybe like old technology, right?
Yeah,
based on just
network and device.
Network, yes. So we go beyond that. Not easy to manage and control for students on device.
Yes. Yeah.
Very good answer.
Yeah,
Very
we heard this a lot earlier in the week as well, especially if it is parent-funded devices or student-owned devices. The question is going to be whether those are actually managed by the school and supervised by the school or not. If they are managed and supervised by the school, then we can absolutely layer in Jamf Safe Internet on top of that. The other important point to bring up is when they are parent-funded devices, and we can show it in the product as well, there is the possibility of setting different policies based on the time of day. So you could say, I want this policy, which is more strict from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m.
We can go, Suraj. While you
you want to?
I will share.
Live cooking.
I will share it.
And when the devices go home, you could have a different policy that is a little more flexible that you have agreed to, so that even if it's a personal device, the student feels like, there you go. So school hours and weekends, those are some of the options. But again, time of use policy is something that is very popular with those using Jamf Safe Internet, because especially if you have parent-funded devices or student-owned devices, the key requirement is they need to be managed and supervised. But if they are managed and supervised, then you can create two different experiences on the same device.
Yeah.
I'm curious if there are any follow-up questions or queries that are based on this particular situation. It's also a great way to communicate with your parent community to say, hey, we respect the devices as student-owned devices when they go home, but when they're in the school, we want to kind of make sure school policies apply.
So this is very good point, Suraj, the schedule. I think this is also one of the latest features that we released. So in the last 2 years, the product has evolved, 3 years actually. 3 years, the product has evolved really vertically. So in short, now we were discussing about product features, some product feature. I think the overview of what Jamf Safe Internet looks like is extremely simple. So we said already that there is an enterprise engine on behind the scene, but we made the dashboard and the look and feel very simple, because we understand the school environment need simplicity, easy to use, intuitivity needs. So that's how it looks like. So we have few information on the dashboard. James, I think this is very important for our audience to understand how to use that, how to understand that the use of this solution that will be extremely simple, because it's designed for educational use.
Yeah, sure. The other thing I would mention is Jamf Safe Internet is also powerful because it has two major components. We've been talking a lot about the content filtering side of it, which is creating a safe learning experience for the students, but it also has very powerful security rules. These are the same security and threat prevention categories that are used by large enterprises, including banks, airlines, and several companies in India as well. But these are the four major categories of threats that we see to any school or higher education organization. And as you can imagine, the default is always block. So when you deploy a content filtering policy or a Jamf Safe Internet policy, by default, it blocks phishing, spam, malware, and cryptojacking. So it's a great way to see how effective it is in your firewall environment if you're using a firewall to say, I have my firewall, but how about an additional layer of network threat prevention that you can put there that keeps students, teachers, staff, all of them safe on the devices. So there's two major components.
Yeah, maybe this is the one that we talk the least because maybe it's the one that is less known.
Yes.
Right. We all know. Okay, let's switch on the content field on the content part. We all know that categories like adult contents, games, social media, they make more noise.
Yeah.
Right. The one that our kids are more visiting, they're interacting. But what about the phishing attack, malware problems? So here, these are the ones that the school maybe take a little bit under not a huge consideration, but that's why we're here to really put the attention on this topic.
Yeah,
right?
and I think the way I define it is security rules are organizational safety. So if you're looking to protect your school's data, the individual personally identifiable information in data, and reduce any kind of exposure for the school largely,
Yeah.
Security rules are very critical. The content filtering rules are very specific to making sure the student is kept safe when it comes to the content that they can access. So they go hand in hand. They work very, very much together. And the great thing is you can decide whether you want to deploy both policies, security rules and content rules, or just content rules. The software is flexible enough to kind of decide which controls you want to apply.
Yeah. So just to finish with this part, we have the security rules here that we just discussed with Suraj. We have the content rules that we discussed before. So it's very easy. As you can see, block, very simple. Actually, you can even tackle the subcategory. For example, we always do the example of the social media, right? Social media, we block everything. But for example, our teachers or our parents, they use Pinterest for pedagogical reasons. So in that case, we can, within the category of social media blocked, we can allow the Pinterest subcategory. So it gives really the granularity, the flexibility to build your ecosystem as you want. And this works on app and web browsing.
Correct.
So it's domain based. So it doesn't matter if it's app or through website.
A slightly different question here, because we are touching about on the content filtering, and so while we are trying to manage a lot of the sites that should not ideally be accessed by students in a school environment or even at home, given the amount of time they spend sometimes on the device, some of the issues that come up is also the mental well-being. Therefore, need not necessarily be on malicious kind of attack or kind of content you see. But how does today the school get to know before it actually happens of the mental well-being of a child? Are there any options today that the tools can potentially help?
Yeah, so one of the things that we really make sure we talk about in Safe Internet is protection over monitoring or surveillance. So what we focus on is what are the best ways to keep students from accessing harmful content, including things that could be actually causing mental harm or risky websites. In addition to that, what we have created are 3 security layers or security levels. It goes from full privacy to balanced privacy to limited privacy. So if you're looking to see what websites the student is visiting or what particular sites they have access to, when you set it to limited privacy, there are detailed reports that give you that information. So you can extract it, you can look at it and see if there are any sites that they're visiting that they shouldn't be, right?
Right.
Again, this is above and beyond the protection layer that we create. But if your parent and school policy is to say, you know what, we don't want to access the information that the students, which sites they're accessing, we don't need to see that data because we respect their privacy. Or if they're actually in high school, like 9th through 12th grade, we're trying to get them to be responsible humans. You can even deploy a different full privacy mode that doesn't give you that access. So we've created that flexibility, James, to say it really depends on how much information you want to get on these devices.
Yes, I think sure that's extremely helpful and good for the parent to know and for the schools also to be aware of. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So what I would like to do now is to go to next question, because I think we have a couple of topics to tackle. So kindly ask you to a few seconds here. And I think while we connect, there is the topic of privacy. I think we will need to spend a few more seconds, few more minutes on that. We have a presentation specific, few slides on that, right? So privacy, we really follow Apple philosophy, right? So the fact that we have a limited privacy is not because we are changing the way we see the topic, but it's because obviously depending on the situation, it can be a requirement. So that's the reason. Nevertheless, privacy for us is the most important thing, right? We do not want, and you mentioned that, we don't want to point the finger. We don't want to control what the student is doing with the device, because then allow me to say that it loses the purpose of the device itself, of the technology. We want to build a safe environment for them to learn freely. We don't want to control what they do.
Yeah.
So it's not about pointing the finger. Student Francesco has tried to visit website for adults. What I meant is I want to block that connection, so they are not landing to that website because it's not pedagogical, it's not school design approved. Yeah. So that's very important for us to give this message.
Really.
So next question. I think we're entering the center, the core. Can we enforce time-based policies? Here we are. So I think we anticipated. We anticipated the answer. We already showed you that the category, and I think while you answer, I think I can switch back to the platform, so we still have 50 seconds. So if I go back on the product solution side, when we say our policies, when we set our policies for contents, here we are. So there is a schedule. This is a pretty new feature that allows us to decide where the profile is actually kicking in or kicking out. So when is actually profile working and when it's not. Most of them, Suraj, maybe you can confirm that, is most of the time is during school hours. It's everything very locked up because this device is supposed to be a school device, and when they're home, maybe there is more freedom.
Yeah, and you can control the different policies for different times as well. So you can set a particular policy for the school time, and then when they go home, for example, maybe YouTube is not restricted, and you would be able to kind of provide that.
Right. Okay. So yes, you see, yes, it's possible by using firewall. Okay. Yes, we can. Yes, we can have done it. Beautiful. And yes, there is a scheduled option. Okay. Great. So I believe that there is already maybe someone that knows Jamf Safe Internet anticipated the answer.
Yeah. And with the firewall,
we move to the next topic. Sorry to interrupt. One question has come up. Bharat, would you like to unmute and maybe talk about the personal Gmail account concern? Bharat, if you're there, you could unmute. No. Okay. I think there might be some access restrictions on Bharat. Okay, then I'll read it out. So what I think he's asking for here is that sometimes students use their personal Gmail account for their managed school devices. What are the best practices that Jamf might recommend to prevent students from adding in or signing in with their personal email accounts while still allowing access to their school managed Google Workspace accounts? Is there a recommended configuration or restriction policy to enforce this?
Let me kind of talk about. So browser management is one of those things that we recommend, and there are some options. Again, this may be specific to how your school is using and allowing personal accounts. I think blocking personal accounts may be the easiest way to do it, but to me, I feel like what you're saying is even during school time, they would actually be using personal email accounts. So browser management is where I would start, and then restricting anything that is related to even being able to use personal accounts is another layer that we can provide. I'm not up to speed on this specific thing yet, but I would say Apple has also created mechanisms where if you're using managed Apple ID, not Google, you are able to make sure you can use only the organizational approved Apple ID versus what may be a personal Apple ID as well. So happy to, again, take it offline and see if we can look at the specific use cases. I would say that within the MDM, there are different ways we can restrict it, but I'm curious about when you want them to have access to the personal email accounts and when you wouldn't, if it's more of a at school versus at home kind of difference as well.
I think this is a specific instance that the school is struggling with. And maybe we can share that with you separately to take that on.
Yeah. I think
100%.
this is the previous question we should be able to.
100%. All right. So James, let's analyze next question. I think we're in the core presentation and core moment of the presentation. So I think I see people joining. So let's give a few more seconds. Think we are good to go. So I will start 5 players ready. Wonderful. Okay, so I will just launch the next question, which is how are we handling mental health triggers?
Yeah.
This is a very good one. I think Suraj.
I think we just talked about it. So
Exactly.
all the questions we're actually seeing, we've been actually able to handle. Mental health triggers are very hard to detect using technology. I think that's kind of where we start. We've worked very closely with Apple to understand how are we able to determine mental health triggers. And I think the biggest kind of area for us to manage is screen time. Like we've talked a lot about how much screen time students need to get and what kind of screen time is helpful for them. And when it comes to passive screen time versus active screen time, we really have created technology to make sure the device is being used only for teaching and learning purposes. We have a lot of controls that we've talked about, but especially when they go home, we also give the parents the ability to have a conversation with the student so that they can set the right restrictions that help with mental health. But we take mental health as a very serious situation and issue, and it's not always possible to look at keywords or search vectors and say this person is susceptible to a mental health situation. So that's just our philosophy.
I think what you said about parents is something that we also need to spend a few seconds on, right?
Right.
It's not only technology. We are not talking about technology. Technology, it's a consequence of this main topic. So I think parents, personally, this is personal opinion. Francesco, personal opinion, I think parents have a huge role in this, right?
Correct.
We are not talking about device, iPad. We're talking about how the parents participate the technology life of the student.
Yeah, so, and great responses. I am really encouraged by the responses I'm seeing here, because you are talking about balance of screen time. You're talking about digital citizenship. Students that are going into high school are very close to actually being adults. So it's very important for them to have a healthy relationship with technology. And the more digital citizenship conversations we can have, the more counseling related discussions you can have, the more conversations you can prepare parents to have at home. I think that will make sure this isn't treated as a technology problem. This is treated as a complete human problem that we need to address. And I think the last thing I would say is when you're at home, there are sources like Common Sense Media and some of the other resources that create very good digital citizenship content that are predictable and usable tools, ready to use tools with the kids that create conversation. I, as a parent, have used it with both my 15-year-old and 9-year-old. the important thing is to have a conversation with your kids, and just the school device control alone is not going to solve that. So great responses here.
Yes.
And I completely believe in some of these comments that you've put in here.
Yeah. James, is there any comment about this?
No comment at the moment. We can go forward.
Okay, perfect. So Suraj, you mentioned something that I really would like to spend 1 minute.
Yeah.
You mentioned something with parents. You mentioned Jamf parent. You mentioned the opportunity for when the student is not at school anymore. So we talk about profile-based, safe internet profile-based, right? So when we talk about the network, so what is possible to access from the device. But when it comes to parents, we actually offering a solution that it's not part, I have to clarify, it's not part of safe internet offering, but it's part of Jamf School offering, which belongs to the K12 package. Jamf Parent is an application that is designed for parents. So when the device is not at school anymore and is at home, the parent have actually the possibility to, in a very basic way, because some parents are not techie at all, in a very basic way to manage this device.
Correct. Right? Yeah. And I saw screen time being referenced earlier. It is very similar to screen time that is used on personal devices. So I use it with, again, my kids is when they come home from school, I say, the first hour, once they've freshened up, I say an hour for revisiting any homework, finishing your schoolwork. And after that schoolwork is done, I'll unlock YouTube so that you can maybe watch something, or I'll unlock a coding app or some kind of app that they see as fun on the device. But that experience is something that I am able to control, not just on the personal device using Apple Screen Time, but on a school issued Apple device, I'm also able to use Jamf Parent to create a very similar experience, right?
And allow me to say that sometimes this can be scary. I'm talking to the schools, right? This can be scary topic to discuss with parents. Sometimes we don't want to take the responsibility to have this conversation, but the truth is that no matter what, this is already happening.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't matter if we talk or don't talk about with parents about this. This is already happening. We are parents, so we know how our kids at home are using the devices. And no matter what, we need to talk about this. It's a topic that we need to handle.
Yeah.
So that's our Jamf, and I'm really proud because it goes beyond, right, the school management of the device. This gives tools to parents to really affect the student life outside of the school when it comes.
And like we talked about, the mental health side of it is, this is an actual tool that we could use, and when used properly, can actually help the mental health situations, right? One of the biggest trends that we have seen is just as kids go into middle school, so when they're in 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, they don't get enough sleep at night because the devices are always on, and they sometimes take it into the bedroom and they're staying on there. There's answers to address that for the personal device, but on school issued device, same thing. We can actually give the parents control to say after 10 p.m. or 9 p.m. you won't have any access on the device. So that is a way to kind of discourage kids from using the device until 8 hours, but also very importantly for mental health, getting adequate sleep every night, which is always important for mental health.
They need guidance after all, parents, and that's how we at Jamf we can help them to address this topic.
Yeah.
All right, James. So I would just go on to the next one. You keep me with
two people asking questions. I think Dilip has asked about 2 or 3 different questions. I don't know. Is it possible to unmute for Dilip? Yeah. Dilip, give us a minute. Would you like to share your question on the group? Yeah. As in you can
Gmail.
So you can block the Gmail app. Sorry, James, we were talking over each other. I was just looking at the question that says they simply add their personal Gmail accounts in the Gmail app and chat with peers and friends. So app restrictions are, again, an MDM control that you have. So you can block the Gmail app, and more importantly, the app that you download using your personal Gmail, using the personal Apple ID, is something that we can completely block as well. So the only Gmail app can be the school-approved VPP token issued Gmail app that you can control the experience. So app controls are another great way, in addition to browser controls, to manage that. School Gmail account. Okay, yeah. Okay, yes. I think now I understand it better. So yeah, let's talk about app controls and web controls. Another question.
Device.
So I think one of the things that we have seen is parents want to use tools like, say, Custodio, or some of those, tools that are more end customer facing. And to do that, they would actually have to install another management profile. But I think everyone is aware you can have only one MDM profile on the device. So to me, if you are using a device, I think that's a conversation to have with the parents, to say, we actually have student activity monitoring using tools like Jamf Safe Internet on a managed device where the school is managing the device. And if you can have a conversation, I think that would be the best way you can go ahead with it. But it's challenging to do two separate MDM profiles. And if they choose the parent MDM profile, then they won't get the benefit of all the school related things that they need. So you would have to choose.
Okay. All right. So let's head to the next question. James, you tell me with time. How are we with time?
I think probably we can do another 2 questions or so and then leave it open for just to see where we are, or maybe after this question, and open it up to the group and check are there points that they would like to cover, and we can probably address that so that we are then conscious of their time as well, and then come back if they've got time for more.
For sure, for sure. All right, so let's go into the next one. I see 4 players, 3 now. There were 4, but they can join anytime, so I will launch it. Who owns the student data and where is it stored? Also, very good question. I think it's a topic everywhere, any part of the world. And I mostly work in Europe countries, and there is a big topic. Obviously, we know at Jamf, we are aware of this. So when it's possible, Suraj, this is also a topic that I leave to you on more to expand on that. But when it's possible, we try to accommodate, or we try to facilitate the school when it comes to data visibility or data storage.
Yeah. And I think it all starts with data collection. So one of the first things that we prioritize is that we don't collect any more data than we need to, or the school needs to. So like the things like full privacy mode. Full privacy mode doesn't mean you don't get visibility to data that we're collecting. Full privacy mode means we don't even collect the data, right? There's no additional student activity data that we collect. We don't retain any PII information. So those are some of the things, is you can't access what we don't collect. So that's the easiest way to keep things safe. Yeah, schools.
PII, it's personal information, that's personal identifiable. So the information that we can identify the students or the teacher. So some interesting answers here. School owned, it is stored in school server. School, I need to know what is visible and what is not. All right. School owns and is stored in the cloud. Student schools own the data and it's stored in the cloud, encrypted. I think we are dealing with pretty much prepared audience when it comes to this topic.
Yeah. School owns the data. It is your data.
Owns the data. Exactly. We as a Jamf, we don't have any interest whatsoever. The product is not designed to collect and store data. The product is designed to block that kind of connections to malicious website and malicious contents. So that's where we are going. Then the privacy topic, it's an extra, right? So as we said before, we have few mode: full privacy, limited, and balanced. So then we can literally decide what's visible and what's not. All right. If we don't have any question on this, I will go for the last one. And let's see what are we asking to our audience. with this question. I will launch it. I saw 4 or 5 participants. That's good. Are we surveilling or protecting? Wow, this is good. This is good. This is, I think, it's a bit of a provocative question.
It's always a good discussion.
Yeah, it's a good discussion. So I like the word protect, not because we have a product that it's called Jamf Protect, but I think we cannot. We are an IT company, right? So our job is to deal with technology and not with surveillance.
Mhm.
I think that's maybe more like a family.
Yeah, I think
Topic?
we could see what the response. I mean, there's 3 people that scanned in, but we already talked about this earlier. So curious to see what people, what 3 responses would be. The main thing is surveillance doesn't guarantee protection. I think that's the key thing to get across as a point is no matter how much surveillance you put in place, one, you're going to require a much larger team to track all of the activity that is happening there, which means you do need to create a lot of additional headcount and resourcing to go after that. But even if you're able to keep up with all the different activity that is happening there, you're still not guaranteed that they wouldn't be using a personal device or another device or a less secure device to access some of it. So I think what we believe in is protection. I really appreciate that, some of them are saying, I want to protecting, and I want to do both.
Yeah.
I think the question is going to be how much and what level of surveillance can you create that is sustainable for your school system? And how are you going to have that conversation with the student to say, you can, if you try to access something, then we would be able to see versus here's a safe environment we have created for you to study and learn it, and you won't be able to access the inappropriate content. So it goes back to digital citizenship. It goes back to the counseling-based approach. It goes back to educating the parents. That is our philosophy, and it's pretty aligned and very aligned with Apple.
Yeah, I think the role of the families here, parents specifically, have a very important role.
Yeah.
We don't want to hide the topic. As I said before, we are all parents, so we all have responsibility toward surveillance and protection. As an IT company, as a school, we need to make sure that these tools are available, and we are using them. So that's our job.
Yeah.
And the purpose, I think overall, James, the purpose of this time we're spending together is to make clear that there are tools, they're working, we are using them everywhere in the world, not only in schools, but also in enterprises, bank, hospital. We are teaching our customers on how to using them. I think that's the final purpose of this time spending together.
And we've spent a lot of time to make it very, very easy for someone to turn this on and to say, enable it onto the devices. So I encourage you to give it a shot, try it out on a few devices, and see what the experience is going to be. And the last thing I would say from a performance point of view, if you've used any of the other content filtering and security tools, because it's an on-device environment, the latency is almost non-existent. So it doesn't erode any of the performance or user experience. You don't see any delay in accessing the network because we're not tracking open packets and trying to decrypt. None of that is happening. So your user experience is going to be, quite supreme.
All right. James, do we want to keep this time for open questions, topics that we want to tackle?
Yeah, I think you've unpacked so much already in the past hour. We've covered so much in terms of privacy, on content filtering, on mental well-being, threat protection. I'm sure there are questions that somebody would like to ask. If you could raise a hand, maybe, and then we could give you access, and then you can ask a question, or you can again put it on the chat, whatever is your preference. But we'd really like to take questions now. I think what we covered here in the morning was some pieces that I think were most relevant to most schools, and primary ones that you would like to put in place. Some of you may already have those policies in place. Some of you may be in that journey. Some may be early starts to that. But getting it right is very important. And I think the way we've seen that in certain schools, I think it's such a joy when you see in certain students' cases, they're just completely focused only on their device and there is no other distraction for them. And that's exactly the joy of knowing that technology, therefore, is working so well for you in the background. And I think that's the purpose and intent here. But again, I'll hold back. I'm happy to listen to any questions you may have.
Yeah. The other thing that we didn't talk about was Jamf Teacher. So James, when you said being focused on devices, like Jamf Teacher is another app that is accessible to schools where you are able to make sure, like if you've opened up any of the iPads at school or at home, you'll find that there's like 30, 40 different apps on there. So can you imagine a physics teacher coming in and saying, hey, we're going to do a physics lesson. Here's the website you need to go to, and here's the app. Students will spend 2 minutes just looking for the app and trying to type it in. Jamf Teacher is a tool that, again, is included with Jamf School. And what you can do is you can create certain templates for classes to say, here's the 4th grade physics class for, Mrs. Smith or Mr. Smith. And when they come in and they start the lesson, all of the other apps that they don't need will just disappear from the device temporarily. And the only website they would be able to access is the website needed for learning. And that's another great way to support what you were saying, which is you're able to focus the students so that they don't get distracted by another app.
So just to clarify on this, if I'm a teacher and I teach across, say, 3 different grades, I can set different controls for different grades.
Yes.
Default setting.
Exactly.
You can create the class in advance. You can create the lesson in advance, maybe the one hour before or the evening before. So you don't need to, or you can do it on the fly.
Yeah.
So literally when you are in class and you have an idea, say, you know what, for the next 10 minutes, I just want to use 2 websites and 1 application. So you simply select the website application, you send the command. So it can be prepared in advance or even used on the same time.
Yeah. And if you have a group that is the train the teachers kind of group, they can create templates based on different classes. So at that point, the teacher just needs to copy it over and it'll work for the students in her class or in his class.
Yeah, I think Dilip has used a very nice word here. He said Jamf Teacher and Jamf Parent apps are truly lifesavers when it comes to supervising, monitoring, and guiding students to use the device responsibly. Yes, thank you, Dilip. Exactly.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's really good to hear.
Yeah, so I think at the end, we concluded even the talk about our pedagogical, let's call them application. So Jamf Teacher and Jamf Students when the student is in school doing lesson, and Jamf Parent when they're at home. And these are part of the Jamf School license. So there is no extra cost on a simple app, but it's part of the Jamf School experience, which is part of the Jamf for K12 offering, basically.
Yeah. And we talked about earlier, 2 weeks ago, or just last week, we announced support for MacBooks as well, for Jamf Parent and Teacher. So it works on iPads, and now it also works on Macs as well, especially if you're looking at the shiny new MacBook Neo and thinking of bringing that into your ecosystem. It works on that as well.
Okay, James, do we have questions? We'll be happy to.
I don't see another question here at the moment, but I wanted to, since you spoke about the environment also there, just again re-emphasize, because you had mentioned earlier and you just touched upon it briefly, about Jamf now going beyond to other devices as well. And these schools today have got a hybrid environment. How does it work for them today? Could you give them some help on that side to understand?
Yes, a really good question. So there are 2 areas. If you think about it, the core area that we evolved from as a company is MDM. So that is still very, very Apple specific because they're very specific Apple controls and protocols that we want to stay aligned with. In other words, when we try to be jack of all trades or Jill of all trades when it comes to management, we fall behind on the applicants. So for that, we're not kind of talking about multi-platform, but when it comes to security and identity, we know that security and identity decisions are made more cross-platform. In other words, when it's protection layer, we want to keep it uniform. Or when it's identity management, you could have Entra, you could have Google, you could have AD. They could be different ecosystems that exist in there lined up with devices. The identity platform, which is new for us as of last April, we acquired, is also very cross-platform. And that helps you manage the identity ecosystem that exists in your schools. So if you think about it that way, management is still very much Apple specific, but identity and security are cross-platform.
Sorry, I was on mute. So there's a question from Sriram. He asks, can we suggest Jamf parent to the parents for their management?
So
For their, yes, I think I understand it. So you're talking about where they're asking for their own supervision tools. Yeah, you can. I mean, so this goes back to the surveillance versus protection conversation, right? What you can tell parents is, if your concern is that the student is going to access something, or their child is going to access something that is inappropriate or something that they don't want to access, Jamf Parent is a way to just prevent that. So you don't have to every day go in and see, okay, today what did my son or daughter access? It just completely takes that away to say only approved websites and approved apps can be used within a set amount of time. I'm actually a big proponent of Jamf Parent. So in my school, my kid's school district, I'm an advocate for making sure parents are educated on that. So yeah, sorry, it took me a little while to connect it back to the previous question, but that, yes.
When I read this question, I was not very sure, because I think there were actually two parts to that possibly. And I'm hoping I'm reading Sriram's right here. One is for a parent, and very clearly they want to understand what the student is doing from a perspective, obviously, ensuring the child is well focused on studies. But sometimes parents like the tool. They would like themselves to get under that management tool. I don't know whether Sriram meant that, but I think that's a very useful piece as well.
Yeah. So this is not related to the school side of it at all, and there's no Jamf Parent unless you have to have your personal device managed by it. So I think this is pointing out a very key problem that we were talking on the way over. Is as adults, we have our own challenges when it comes to healthy technology use. But I would say there are separate third-party tools or direct consumer tools that help with that, that limit screen time for adults as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure.
we
could all use less screen time, maybe is the lesson there.
For sure, yes. Very good.
At least when there is a purpose. Not here
scrolling
Instagram.
There's another question. If lost mode is enabled in Jamf School, does it work when the device is offline? Also, does it provide the device's location if lost mode is enabled?
I may have to look it up. I know when it's in lost mode, you're still able to track it based on the last location. But I may have to kind of look at, maybe someone technical can speak to that specific
someone
question.
Technical, but I believe that when it's offline, it kicks in when the device comes back online.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And again, we will need to check with someone technical here, but I believe that when it's in lost mode, then the device location is more accurate, rather than generic location when the device.
The device has to still ping it. So when it's offline, but I can confirm that right now.
Got it. All right. And so there's a further question. Jamf Pro provides precise location details, including latitude and longitude. However, Jamf school does not provide this and can only report a device location when it is online.
Yeah, so this is this.
Go
ahead, Jay, sorry. Yeah, I just confirmed it. You need network connectivity. So I think the initial comment we had was accurate. Is you do need network connectivity for real-time tracking, especially when it's in lost mode. And I don't believe that is something. Maybe it's the granularity with which it tracks that it's what you're calling out across Pro and School, but both of them require connectivity to actually report the location. If we're missing something in that question, again, happy to kind of connect separately and talk about it.
Yeah, I think we'll probably take that on again separately and share that with you. Okay.
So yes, actually, Jamf School, when its location is activated, Jamf School reports the GPS location.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
The Jamf School admins I know have used geofencing or location-based kind of controls to manage the experience as well. So I know that the ability is there to manage at a granular level when it comes to Jamf School. But again, I'm happy to take it offline if there's additional clarifications needed there.
I think we don't have any other chat. One question. Is there anything else that anyone would like us to cover for now? We still have a little bit more time, I think.
I mean, obviously, no, it's this. We don't need to say this, but obviously, if you wanna anything you saw today, if you wanna try, we are more than happy. So I think the message here, James, is today was open discussion, was an open table, but
yes,
to really understand when we talk to customers, and this is a fun example, when I tell them, why don't you try the solution? And they tell me, no, Francesco, really, we are good. We don't need it. We are protected. We know everything what's happening. I'm like, try 1 week, 10 days, pull a report, and then you will tell me if you really think you are covered. And this obviously is not to provoke them, but it's to make clear that sometimes we don't have that visibility that we should have, right? So
yes, yeah. Well, I think thank you so much, Suraj and Francesco. I think you covered so much this morning. And to the audience, I think thank you so much for your time. We have one poll before we go, and I'll just ask Nikhil to put up the poll in the meantime. So while he's putting up the poll, I think the interesting point and the view here is that students today are all on devices. So whether they're on school or outside of school, they're still on devices. And it's therefore important that we kind of secure the future where we can. In the simplest way possible without too many controls. And I think the surveillance approach no student likes. But when they know that to some extent there is protection in the background, parents know that, there's some comfort. Can we control it 100% today? I'm not so sure. But can we control it to a fair degree? Yes, for sure. That is definitely there. And the more control you have, and it's not so much control, but the more you have, I would say, guardrails around what somebody does, that's a nice thing to have. And I would say that the Jamf team here, while you're exploring your journey on how do you build these guardrails, they have a great framework around it that can really help you. And for those who are already in the journey, and I know some of you have really done a lot of work in the last few years in building very strong digital environments for your students, for your campus. But as you grow in technology and as you add on new apps and platforms, you are always looking at how do you still secure all of that. And then again, work with Jamf on this. I think in the space today of how do you secure safe environments, they are definitely leaders in that area. And it's good for you, even while you're doing something on your own environment, ping them and they'll probably help you with that. Or you can reach them through us. That will also help. Yeah. So thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Can you just hold for about a few minutes? We'll just put that poll on.
Thank you. It was a pleasure, James.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you all. Thank you so much for your time and have a good day.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Pleasure meeting everyone.
Pleasure.
Take care.